Hi, hello. Welcome back to Myself on Purpose. I'm the host, Daria, and this is session 3. Today I wanted to chat about energy. Now, I could talk about energy for a very long time, and along those same lines, there's so many different directions that I can go in a conversation about energy. But today, there are two main points I want to focus on. The first is I want to share a story about when it became clear to me, when I became aware that energy was going to be pretty important for me. And it was going to be pivotal to prioritize it. And so I'll share a bit more about that. And then second, I want to talk a little bit about monitoring energy in order to manage energy, right? So those will be the two main focuses of the session today. So I'll start with sharing a story about how I became kind of aware of the importance of energy. Now, thinking back, there's probably a lot of moments in my a lot of moments in my life, a lot of different stories that should have been an indicator just how important energy is, because quite frankly, energy is everything, right? But I I'm a bit of a warrior, y'all. I'm a bit of a soldier. I have kind of that mentality to just push through shit. You know what I mean? And so I can be very like mentally tough and even, physically, like I have a pretty high tolerance for physical pain. And so I think this story really hit a little bit different because of how it took me out, so to speak, how I was taken out. So a little bit of context. I, in my undergrad, when I was doing my undergrad, had a lot of mixed feelings about it. It was kind of a really long roller coaster ride for me for several different reasons. I won't get into all of that, but the piece that's pertinent to, I think, context here for this story that I'm going to walk through is, freshman year, it was new, it was exciting, kind of. I was still trying to find my way. I was still trying to find my people. I was still trying to find myself. And it all kind of happened at once, right? You go to a new place, everyone is new for you, this lifestyle is new for you. Yeah, and so it was all kind of hitting me at once. I didn't really know what to make of it. And then by the time sophomore, year came around, it became a little bit clear that I wasn't very happy. I wasn't very happy there, and I wanted out. I wanted to transfer at first, and then there was a time sophomore year where I remember calling home, and I just wanted to go home. Those weren't necessarily viable options for me. So by the time junior year had come around, my mindset had shifted, right? That warrior mentality kicked in. It was like, okay, we're here. We're going to be here. Let's make the best of it. And also, I think there's some qualities about me that make me a natural leader. And so I started to think, there's going to be other people who feel like me, who come after me, just as I'm sure there were people who feel like me who came before me. What can I do to make their road a little less rocky here? And so that's how I started to see myself and my contribution on that campus. And so I started connecting more with the the younger students who were coming on campus and things like that. So we had really shifted over those 3 years, right? From like just being kind of a deer in headlights to really feeling like I did not like it and I was not happy. And then eventually to a place where it's like, okay, yep, I hate it here. And right, leaving is not always an option. So how do we make the most of it? And how do we kind of move out of just surviving here to thriving, right? So that's the context. Now, during my junior year, there was a period of time where I was just completely exhausted. I had never experienced exhaustion to this point. I mean, I was like sleeping through dining hall hours, so missing meals. Every spare moment that I had, I would go to my dorm and nap. I would just wake up to go to classes and go to work, and that was pretty much it. All the other time that I had, I was spending sleeping, and it wasn't restful. Like when I woke up, I didn't feel refreshed at all. And so that went on for, I want to say, somewhere in between 4 and 6 weeks. I'm not really sure. But I started to think, okay, something's really wrong here. You know what I mean? I don't think that this is like normal. And I definitely know that this is not healthy. So I scheduled an appointment with, student health. And I won't go through that whole story. But eventually what I had learned was on their end, the tests that were run and things at the student health center, they didn't see anything abnormal. So I really didn't get anything fruitful from them. And then I sought other opinions. We'll just say that. I sought other opinions from professionals, other sorts of professionals. And I came to understand two things. One, my cortisol levels were very, very high. And two, my body was essentially stuck in survival mode. So let me explain a little bit more. Cortisol is the stress hormone, and that becomes elevated when we experience, heightened anxiety or stress. And it becomes lowered whenever we feel relaxed, right? Long-term elevated cortisol levels have the potential to be extremely detrimental to our physical and our mental health. Okay. Typically, we'll like encounter something where we might perceive it to be a dangerous, anxiety provoking, stressful situation, right? And our brains begin to function in a different capacity than, let's say, they normally would, whatever normal means for you. And then once the perceived threat is gone, right, our brain function shifts back and is functioning at its usual capacity. Again, whatever usual capacity is for you, right? So that's just to say that our executive functioning takes over again and starts to control kind of what we do, what we prioritize, how we feel, right? We are not built to be in survival mode for a long period of time. And here my body was stuck in survival mode. I couldn't convince my brain or my body that we were out of it, that there was no perceived threat. So I did a little bit more work to kind of understand how did I get here? You know what I mean? Like how does one's body and mind get to this place? Because something has to change. Like I can't, live like this forever. In doing some of that work to understand a little bit more about how I got to that place, I realized that I was spending energy and exerting energy on things and people subconsciously, right? And when I did become aware, I realized like those are not even the things and people that I want to be expending energy on. And they were secretly like draining me, kind of like energy vampires, if you will. You know what I mean? And so I needed to take my energy back. Short term, I had to look at what the stressors were in my life and then coming up with some sort of plan to eliminate them. Yes, easier said than done, but that's what I needed to do short term. And then long term, I needed to adopt practices that help me to regularly monitor my energy and then more intentionally and mindfully manage it. And this all became clear because my lack of energy, right? This survival sort of mode that I was stuck in took me out very physically. Exhaustion literally laid me on my back. And so it wasn't about motivation. It wasn't about discipline. It was about none of that. It was literally like I didn't have any strength to do anything except get up and do the bare minimum of what I absolutely needed to and had to do. Right. And even then, like, I don't even know how long I could have lasted before I started sleeping through classes, but I'm glad it didn't come to that. So anyhow, to me, when these sorts of things happen, is like in life, you might get a little sign, you know what I mean? Or an indication like, oh, we should probably pay attention here. We should probably, designate a few more resources and thoughts and time to this thing and go resolve this, right? And maybe we ignore it, right? And sometimes life literally just has to sit your ass down way beyond your control for us to realize, you know what I mean? Like, nope, seriously, this thing needs to change, right? Like I'm not joking. It isn't something minor or small. It's very major and it's impactful. And so I think that entire experience, I'll never forget it. I don't forget it. And it changed my life, you know? One of the analogies that has helped me along the way is thinking about my energy like cash in a wallet. And when I started to think about it that way, it became easier to think about the need to regularly monitor and manage this cash in a wallet, right? So that I don't go over budget energetically, if you will. So evaluating, what energy do I actually have right now? Where am I spending it? How much am I willing to give to this thing, people, or this event or situation? When I need to preserve it, right? When I need to kind of get more, it became easier to kind of think about the need and all of the components that go with like healthy energy management for myself, when thinking about it like a budget, like cash in a wallet, right? And then there's a whole other piece around being vigilant about it, right? Like when people say protect your energy, right? Because takers will always be able to seek out givers, okay? I'll say that again. Takers will always be able to seek out givers. So it was important for me to learn to be vigilant about preserving my energy so that I didn't give too much of it away, especially on things that I didn't give a shit to give it to. And more than that, like givers need to be able to establish limits because it's rare that takers will. And so you might find yourself in a place where it's a whole lot of withdrawals and no deposits, right? If that makes sense. And so I needed to be mindful of that as well. And essentially that led to me being someone who does not play about my energy, right? It's one of the most important and valuable things is for me to take care of my energy, manage it well, and make sure that it remains hygienic, right? Because all energy is not good energy. So being able to evaluate that as well became like a key focus for me. I had to know myself very intimately. I had to get to know myself very deeply, right? Like, what replenishes me? What depletes me? right? What feels like a deposit energetically into my bank account and what feels like a withdrawal to me, right? Because that's what's going to allow me to be able to like monitor and manage more efficiently. And so these are questions I had to ask myself. These are things I had to pay attention to, right? I started paying attention to like, okay, after I've interacted with this person, how do I feel? Checking in with myself, right? How do I feel? You can't manage anything that you don't monitor. Not effectively anyway, right? You just can't. Think about it. Anything else that we kind of care about, we monitor it, right? In order to manage it. We monitor and manage the gas that's in our cars because we rely on these vehicles to get us the places that we need and want to go, right? We keep track of things like how much food is left in our cabinets and fridge, right? Because that's our fuel that keeps our bodies going every single day. And money, right? As a very relevant example here. We monitor our money. So why not monitor our energy? So many things are dependent on energy. The same way that these things can like run low and you need a re-up, energy does as well. Energy can run low. Energy can need a re-up. And so keeping along with this money analogy, sometimes it takes money to make money, right? And so that was another component that I needed to understand more of is like, okay, what are the things that feel like a deposit into my energetic budget? And what does it take to get them, right? I'll give you an example. I feel really revitalized after hiking. That feels like an energetic deposit into my bank, which is great. And it takes energy to do that, right? Typically where I live, like it's a good idea to wake up early so that you can get out to the location and start your hike early because it gets very warm very quickly here, right? And we want to be safe. Also, you got to think about it usually the night before so that you can plan ahead and kind of have all of your necessities and gear out. And then you're driving to this location, and then maybe it takes a while to find some parking or the trailhead. And then you got to do the hike, right? Then you come down from the hike and you drive back home and maybe, you shower even though you're really tired. And then you probably want to eat something to put some fuel back in your body after you've, burned off a lot. And all of that requires energy for me to do the thing that's going to make me feel like I have an energetic deposit. One of the lessons I learned is you can't wait until you're on E. I can't. I can't wait until I'm on E. I can't afford that to maintain this money analogy. I can't afford to be in that position because guess what? I'm going to be in the red, right? If I wait until I'm on E to do what I need to do to make sure that I have energy income, right? And it takes some money to make some money, energetically speaking. And I have none because I've waited till I'm on E. Now what am I going to do? Borrow? Take out an energetic loan? I had a friend who would do this, right? Whenever we were like trying to stick to a budget, cash and wallet while shopping, right? This friend would like decide in their head, they'd see something they liked in the store and decide in their head what they were willing to spend on that item, right? Let's say it's like a shirt and it's like, oh, okay, this is a really cute shirt. I'm willing to spend $40 on it. If it's over 40, I'm not going to get it. Pick it up and it's like, oh, it's 35. I'm going to get it. Or you pick it up and it's 50 and I put it down because what I'm willing to spend on this is what I'm willing to spend on it, period. And so you kind of set that tone and you set that budget for yourself before you even enter the circumstance. And I practice that same thing with energy, right? Before I decide to go into an event, I might say, you know what? Based on all the other shit that I need to get done this weekend and stuff like that, I have an hour's worth. I have an hour's worth in me. Yep, that's what I got. So I'm going to go, I'm going to enjoy myself for that full hour, and then I'm going to dip out, right? And like these are the ways that I take care of my energetic budget, right? And the ways that I use to decide whether or not I'm going to engage in something. And it's been so helpful. And um I'd say not just monitoring it like cash in a wallet, right? That was one of the things that really elevated how I thought about energy and has helped me for quite some time. There's also this idea that like all money ain't good money, right? The older folks have said that to me before. All money ain't good money. And it's true. It's true. And it's also true about energy, right? All energy is not good energy, right? And so being able to read energy also became important to me. I have my own practices, right? For like cleaning my energy. I think it's also about the energy that you allow that spills over from other people, right? I'll give you an example. I can clean my body and clean my clothes and make sure that my house is clean and my car is clean, but those are my environments, right? And then I go out into public, I'm going to get dirty, right? There are germs that I'm going to have on me when I come back into my own environment. And so you wash again and you take off dirty clothes and you put on clean clothes, and right? And so we have this practice almost of the in the physical sense of like understanding you can't control the fact that like you're going to get dirty. And so we have cleansing processes and practices that we've put into place in order to maintain some sort of level of cleanliness. And I think the same can be said around the need to do it energetically, right? You are bound to walk into public and someone's energy kind of gets on you. You know what I mean? And you can't help that. But if you have cleansing practices in place, you can do a better job of maintaining some level of energetic hygiene, right? It's not just about what you do with regard to your own energy, it's about making sure that you're aware of external factors and influences as well. Like if people's energy is not good, they're not allowed in my house, for example, right? I'll do things like instead of allow them to come into my space, I will suggest that we meet in public, right? Then I have a cutoff time for your energy so it doesn't become like a vampiring sort of thing. And I'm kind of protecting the energy that I've worked so hard to maintain in my home from you because your energy isn't good. Or maybe I won't answer your phone call, or there's so many ways to kind of think about like needing a certain level of hygiene. So the more that I became aware of energy and I prioritized it in my life, like clean, healthy, productive energy, the higher my standards and requirements came for people around me and the places and environments that I'm going to be a part of. And that's how I'm going to maintain a healthy, energetic budget, right? I want to make sure that if some of my shit is spilling onto you, it's not too bad. If I know one thing's for certain is that we're going to spill over onto each other, right? No matter what, some spillage is going to occur. I want to make sure that whatever you get coming from me ain't too bad. I want it to be as good as it can be. That comes from hygienic practice with energy. Self-awareness, I think, is at the center of that. But I think there's just a lot of good that can come from being a self-aware person. And one of those things is the energy you keep, right? The energy you kind of carry and keep. And so if you're not on that journey, I encourage you to, maybe start and give it a try. Learn a little something, read something, talk to someone. Yeah, talk to me. Shit, ask a question. I don't know. We can learn from each other, Try it next Monday, right? before you even walk out into the world and engage with the first person or thing you're going to engage with, ask yourself, what's my energetic budget right now? And that can look like and sound like whatever you want, whatever sort of grading scale. If you want to use percentages, if you want to use fucking smiley faces and emojis, a scale of 1 to 10, whatever that looks like for you, however it holds meaning for you, I encourage you to give it a try, right? And then if there's something that maybe you're looking less forward to throughout your week, try having a conversation with yourself and making an agreement with yourself about how much energy you want to expend on that thing. And then create a plan for how you're going to stick to that. Maybe that means you're going to stay for an hour. Maybe that means you're going to log on to the thing, but you are not going to be on camera. Maybe that means you're going to go, but you're not going to drive. Maybe that means you're going to bring a +1 as a buffer. I don't know what it looks like, but, protect your energy and try experimenting with yourself about what it means to kind of have an energetic budget and how you might manage your own, right? Because I think it's important to get to know ourselves and our energy intimately and what we need from energy, because everything is energy. And so if we're not thinking about it in this way, we do run the risk of being depleted, falling into survival mode and not even noticing it, it having physical and mental impacts on us that are detrimental, right? Anything that you are not choosing to monitor, you can't manage. And anything that you are choosing not to manage, you are allowing to have the power to consume you in ways that you don't even agree to. Thanks for being here in this session. I hope that you'll join me again soon. Until next time, whatever you do, do it on purpose.